Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to episode 26 of Talk4, the quickfire podcast where we ask four great questions to unique and interesting people. Behind the mic today is your host, Louis Skupien, that's me, and our special guest for today, Roger Veer, who's going to be answering our questions today. Roger, please say hi, introduce yourself, and give us a quick rundown of who you are and what you do before I shoot some questions.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Roger Veer. I was the first person in the entire world to start investing in the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency ecosystem. I founded Bitcoin.com. I helped co-found other businesses like Blockchain.com, Ripple.com, and provided the seed funding for a bunch of other businesses like Kraken.com and BitPay.com, and on and on and on. So I was been in the space, coming up on 12 years now. Bought my
Wow.
first Bitcoin when they were a little less than $1. So it's been a wild ride.
Geez, that has been a long journey. And from my understanding as well, you also do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well as me then, is that right?
Yeah, I've been doing that for 14 and a half years now. It's been quite a while.
Wow. So you're a brown belt, are you?
Yeah, I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt. I've been a brown belt for 4.5 years now, so I think that black is getting close, but aged is creeping up on me as well. I'm 43 already, so uh,
Oh, sounds
that plays a
good.
role. Yeah.
Sure. Well, I mean, I tell you what, you sound like an absolutely fascinating guy, and I cannot wait to ask a few questions, obviously, about your profession, career, and expertise. So, if you're ready to go, should we jump into question number one?
I'm ready.
Awesome. So, for question one, as one of the earliest investors in Bitcoin, I'd love to know a bit about your backstory. How did you originally start investing, and how did you come to notice Bitcoin, and what did you actually see in it?
So before I was involved in Bitcoin, I was running an e-commerce website called memorydealers.com, selling computer memory to people all over the world. And every single day, we had people with stolen credit cards trying to buy computer memory from me. And so we had to sort through all the different orders every day and figure out which ones were real and which ones were fake. And before that, before it was easy for people to accept credit cards and before there was such a thing as PayPal, I was still selling these computer parts. People would literally have to send checks in the mail. They would buy postal money orders and send them in the mail, like physical mail with a stamp and the mailman delivering it and all that happening. And it's like it was a real big pain to be able to sell anything on the internet. And so I knew there was a huge demand in e-commerce for people to be able to accept payments from people all over the world without the risk of a chargeback or payment fraud like you have with credit cards or PayPal or other things. And when Bitcoin came along, I heard about it in reference to the Silk Road where people would buy and sell illegal drugs. I wasn't interested in the drugs, but I thought, what the heck kind of money could they possibly be using to do this? Because you can't use PayPal, you can't use checks, you can't use credit cards to buy and
Mm.
sell drugs on the internet.
Yep.
And that they were using Bitcoin. And so I looked into Bitcoin. I thought, oh, there's no doubt in my mind whatsoever that people are going to start using this as money, as peer-to-peer electronic cash for the world. So my first investment step was to buy a bunch of Bitcoin. And the next step was to start investing in the different businesses to make it usable for normal people easily in commerce to use as cash. And so that's why I started investing in different Bitcoin exchanges and payment processors like BitPay and wallet software like Blockchain.com, and just wanted to make it easy for people to use as money so they don't need the euro or the pound or the dollar anymore. They can use a Bitcoin, or today things more like Bitcoin Cash or Monero or Zcash or any of the peer-to-peer cash focused cryptocurrencies are the most interesting to myself.
Wow, that's fantastic. And yeah, it's such a new space, everything still. I mean, it's obviously all in its early doors and everything, but looking at your your Wikipedia and stuff on your website, you said that Bitcoin is one of the most important inventions in all of human history. Can you tell us why?
Yeah, I think we need to maybe change the quote now and say that peer-to-peer electronic cash was one of the most important inventions in all of human history. At this point, Bitcoin has the cool name that everybody knows and is excited about in the high price, but its functionality as peer-to-peer electronic cash is absolutely atrocious. And it's that peer-to-peer cash aspect that made me attracted to it in the first place. It no longer has that. And that's why I'm much more excited about other cryptocurrencies that still work as peer-to-peer electronic cash. And if you go on these darknet markets where people are buying and selling illegal drugs for cryptocurrencies at this point, pretty much none of them are using Bitcoin, and that just shows that its characteristics as peer-to-peer electronic cash. It's not the leading one in terms of cryptocurrencies at this point. Monero has the lion's share on the darknet at this point, and I think that's a sign that it works really well as a private currency. The downside is that Monero is so good that governments are preemptively banning it around the world from various countries, specifically in
Mm.
Asia, but other countries as well. And so it'll be interesting to see what sort of balancing act we need to have between legality and usability. But at the end of the day, what makes cryptocurrencies so exciting is that they're, by intentional design, they're above and beyond the reach of the law. So like I've been saying this about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general, what makes them so exciting is that the only way to stop them would be to turn off the entire internet in the entire world and keep the internet turned off. And that's not really a realistic thing to do in the year 2022. So all
Sure.
governments can really do is slow them down, not stop them at this point.
Brilliant. Right. Well, this actually leads really well into question number two as well, which I'm going to go into right now. So, obviously, since you got involved with Bitcoin, there has been so much development and so many new things like NFTs and all the other new coins. So, my question is, what is your take on NFTs and all the other coins? Does Bitcoin reign king and will others die out? Or do you think there's real future in these projects?
I think whatever cryptocurrency winds up being used as cash by the most number of people is going to be the cryptocurrency that people wind up using as their store of value. And that'll be the one that has the highest market cap and the most eyeballs on it. I don't think it's likely to be BTC at this point, just because the user experience is so incredibly bad. Maybe we don't know yet. It's still the really, really early days. Rolling out to the world, I remember write a report or something, the teacher said, and don't copy something off the internet because I know every single website and I'll know where you copied it from. And even then I rolled my eyes and knew what a ridiculous statement that was. But back then it was something that, maybe some people would believe. But, of course, nobody can know every, website on the internet and where you got your school paper from. But which cryptocurrency is going to win in the end? We don't know. It's still early days. But it's picking up, the entire ecosystem is picking up steam with more and more attention. And in the early days, people just laughed at it. Now nobody's laughing at it. They're trying to figure out what to do about it and how to use it in their business and how they can use it to improve their lives and their flow of money around the world. So it's early days, but things are moving quickly. But the one that's in the lead position in the beginning isn't usually the one that winds up at the end. So a lot of people before Facebook might remember MySpace. But before MySpace, there was Friendster. And before Friendster, there was another one called High Five, I think it was. And there were probably even a few more before that as well. But, people today, someone your age probably never even heard of High Five. Maybe you've never heard of Friendster either. And maybe you've heard of MySpace, though. But
yeah, heard of
who uses
MySpace,
MySpace nowadays? And the same may wind up being true of Facebook. Maybe it's not going to be the king of social media in the future either. So I think the same is true of cryptocurrencies. Just because something's the king today doesn't mean it will be the king tomorrow either.
It's a great point. And just wanted to ask one more time as well what you think about this. What do you think about NFTs? Are they something that's going to last into the future, do you think? And do they have actual potential, or is that something that's just quite hyped up at the moment?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm the wrong age demographic or something for NFTs. I'm not nearly as excited about them, but look at Beanie Babies. That was a huge craze. All you did is collect these different stuffed animals, and there were a limited number of them, and people would buy and trade them. And some of them became worth thousands or, maybe even tens of thousands of dollars. I don't know what the most expensive Beanie Baby was, but that's a real thing. And I think it's still going on to this day. And the same is true for the Magic the Gathering cards that people collect as well and play a game with them. And so maybe there'll be, a bunch of NFTs that wind up being collectible long-term and do something, but that's not something that's of interest to me personally and directly. But I believe each individual can do whatever makes them happy and pursue their own interests. And if you like Bored Ape Yacht Club monkey pictures and want to pay a bunch of money for one, well, it's your money to do it with, and I don't think anybody should stop you. But I won't be spending my own money on monkey pictures on the internet. I'll tell you that much.
That's brilliant answer. I love it. Right. Anyway, so to move on now to question number three as well, to start out with investing. Nowadays, when I go on my Instagram DMs, there's always the classic scammers trying to cause trouble. But they're always talking about Bitcoin and crypto now. So my question is, for someone who's new to the game and doesn't really know the ins and outs, what is some of your top tips for starting out with crypto investing and also for staying safe and avoiding getting taken advantage of?
Yeah, I think the top tip is do not send money to strangers on the internet. Absolutely do not, no matter what they promise you. Even if they promise to give you back double your money the very next day, don't believe them. It's a scam. Don't send your money to strangers on the internet, just like you wouldn't, hand a bunch of money to some guy, you met in the parking lot that you don't know, and then tell them, oh, I'll see you here tomorrow so you can give me back double my money. Like, don't do that. It's a bad idea. And unfortunately, cryptocurrencies just make it so incredibly easy for these scammers to scam and cheat people on the internet. So don't give money to strangers on the internet is my advice. And if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. So they're not going to double your money the very next day, and they're not going to pay you. They're not. If the higher the interest rate they're promising you, the more likely it is to be a scam. And if it's not a scam, the higher the interest rate they're offering to pay you, the more dangerous the investment is. So if someone's offering to pay, 50% APR, it's because it's really likely you're not going to get any of your money back. So be really, 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 really careful on this sort of thing, and don't send your money to strangers on the internet. I said it 5 times before, but it's worth repeating again. Do not send money to strangers on the internet.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, and duly noted, I'm sure, for many people. Right. So, for my fourth and final question now, as someone who obviously saw the potential of Bitcoin very early on, is there anything else you've seen that you see similar potential in? And if not, what do you think people should be looking to direct their attention and money to in the crypto space looking forward?
I think people don't fully appreciate how big a deal superhuman intelligence is, right? So AI is getting really, really, really close. And so like as a kid, I was brought up religious and taught to believe in the Christian God of the Bible and whatnot. And as a kid, I always thought like, I wish I could ask God questions about, why this, why that, why all these different things. Cause I thought, God would know the answers. Today I'm an atheist and, I don't believe in that sort of thing, but AI basically is like getting to talk to God, right? Once we have superhuman intelligence, it's like us, mere mortals, we get to talk to God and ask God for the answers to these questions that we can't figure out ourselves. And a real interesting example of that was given by Ray Kurzweil, one of the, great visionaries in this space. The example he gave is if you take a dog brain and you give the dog brain 1,000 years to try and figure out calculus, the dog's brain is not capable of understanding calculus. And so if you take a human brain, even if you give the human brain 1,000 years to figure out some particular problem, there are certain problems in the universe that the human brain just plain isn't capable of understanding. Just like a dog's brain can't understand calculus, there are things out there that us humans won't even be able to understand. Yet AI is going to be able to understand it and solve it and be able to do all these things. So it's like we're literally creating the closest thing there is to God. And hopefully it won't turn out to be, the devil that effectively murders all of us. Just like when you step on an ant, you don't think two things of it because it was just an ant. But I think people don't realize just how big of a deal AI is going to have on all of human civilization. And this is right around the corner. It's getting really, really close at this point. And it's kind of really, really hard to predict how that's going to affect the world we live in. Just like for an ant, it's hard to predict how the humans are going to affect their environment as well. So, a bulldozer going to come in and build a house, to that, it would seem like the end of the world to the ants. They're doing that. What is this AI going to do once it comes into existence? And I don't think it's a question of if AI, superhuman intelligence, is going to come into existence. It's just how soon is it going to be here? And then what is it going to do once it gets here? And we really don't know, but it's a pretty exciting time to be alive on that front.
Absolutely, and very good points. And I think everyone's hoping to avoid the Terminator style outcome really with all this, aren't we?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Although we do know that AI isn't going to use dollars, it's going to use some form of cryptocurrency because your local bank isn't going to be willing to open a bank account for AI, but AI is certainly going to need money to buy and sell and do things on the internet there. So pretty much guaranteed AI will be using cryptocurrency.
That's a very good point. Right. So usually I finish up here, but I actually do have one more special little question for you, just as a little extra as well. So some of my family listen to the podcast. So help me out here, Roger. If my grandma asks me about the podcast after I upload it, how do I explain to her in the simplest possible way what Bitcoin is and how does it work?
You can think of it as money, but you can send it over the internet instead of having to send it. Think of it like dollar bills in your pocket, but you can send over the internet, and there's no central bank that can print as many of them as they want at any moment. And the easiest way is for you to show her, send her a little bit of cryptocurrency, set up a wallet, and explain to her the difference between a wallet and an account. I think that's a really big problem in the cryptocurrency field at this point. So many accounts are calling themselves wallets, and they're not. And so don't confuse an account with a wallet. If you're using an account, your funds can be frozen or seized or controlled by that third party at any point. If you're using a wallet like the Bitcoin.com wallet, nobody in the entire world can freeze your account, including government. So it's very important to understand the difference between a wallet and an account. And I think we should publicly shame these accounts that are branding themselves as wallets to the world. Don't be fooled by an account that's calling itself a wallet. You want to use a wallet, not an account. So make sure you're holding the private keys to your cryptocurrency yourself.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And so that is, in fact, our 4 questions done for today. And before we wrap it up, it is time for what I like to call the shameless plug. Roger, feel free to take a minute and promote anything that you're working on, want people to take a look at, or just something you believe in.
Yeah, I'd like to encourage people to go out there and Google voluntarism. And voluntarism is just the idea that all human interactions should be on a voluntary basis or not at all. And most of us all the time live our lives that way. When you go and buy something from the coffee shop, it's because they voluntarily sell you the coffee and you voluntarily give them your money and you both feel better off afterwards. Otherwise, you wouldn't make the purchase. And the only times human interactions aren't voluntary are murderers, rapists, robbers, and governments. And everybody knows all the time that murderers, robbers, and rapists are the bad guys. But why is it that when governments deal with other people and threaten peaceful people with violence and force them to do things against their will, people just take that for granted? They say, oh, it's the government, it's okay. Well, stop, take a step back and think about it. Maybe it's not okay. So I encourage people to go out there and Google voluntarism and read all about that. And I think it's where the world needs to head, so that all human interactions are on a voluntary basis and a consensual basis, or not at all. And that's where I want to wrap it up. So thank you so much for the opportunity, Louis.
Brilliant. Roger, thank you so much for joining me today for the Talk4 podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you guys for listening. This has been episode 26. And if you'd like to listen to our past episodes, go and have a look at our channel. And if you'd like to listen in for our future ones, make sure to hit that subscribe button and spread some love by leaving a like and a comment. Signing off for now.